Hello and welcome to the Formation Tactics series, looking at specific formations in both the attacking and defending phases when up against a differing opposing structure. Brought to you by Elite Football Tactics. In today's video, we will look at the 4-3-3 formation in both the attacking and defending phases, specifically when up against a 4-4-2 diamond. The first thing to observe when both formations come up against one another is the central midfield area, specifically the 4 versus 3 overload which the diamond offers against the trio of the 4-3-3. This can have a significant impact in all moments of the game, with a numerical overload in the central spaces of the pitch one of the most sought after tactical concepts. In addition, both centre-backs within the 4-3-3 are constantly occupied when defending and when playing out by the presence of the two centre-forwards ahead of the diamond. One further observation comes in the wide areas, with the narrowness of the diamond structure giving way for the fullbacks in the 4-3-3 shape to occupy the biggest space on the pitch. When playing out from the back, the 4-3-3 will naturally attempt to take advantage of the wide spaces on the outside of the diamond. In response, it is then common to see the two opposing central midfielders covering on the outside of the 4-3-3 central midfield trio. This enables them to cover the central spaces and maintain the 4v3 overload, whilst also preparing to press into the wide areas. The two central forwards will also begin in a slightly withdrawn pressing position, still able to press onto the 4-3-3's two centre-backs, but also cover any attempted aerial pass over a gain target in the wide areas. This deeper position also allows the centre-forward pairing to press onto passes into the feet of the 4-3-3's fullbacks. So from the perspective of the 4-3-3, the objective is to increase the area in which the two centre-forwards have to cover. This can be achieved by positioning the two centre-backs much deeper. This deeper position then increases the pressing distance for the opposition's frontline pair. By pushing both fullbacks forward also increases the space in which the two centre-forwards have to defend, now enabling both a shorter pass to the centre-backs and an aerial pass over. This more direct pass is significantly improved by the very high and wide positioning from both wingers in the 4-3-3 shape, pinning the diamond's fullbacks much deeper. From here, it is common that the closest player within the diamond will press into the wide areas and deal with a pass over the two centre-forwards. However, to disrupt the press even further, an initial shorter pass to the deeper centre-backs can lure the diamond centre-forwards much higher and towards the ball. This also increases the space available for the fullback to receive in. With a quick combination, often a setback before a first-time pass into the wide area, then providing an improved method of finding the fullback before the diamond then moves across to deal with the second phase. Another key aspect for the 4-3-3 to progress the ball against the 4-4-2 diamond is the dropping movements of the number 4. They must operate ball side of the respective opponent for as long as possible, offering central combinations and a passing outlet for the back line to build through, around or over the diamond's two centre-forwards. One method of pressing a centre-back is via an outwards press, moving from in to out, shown here by the diamond's number 9. However, as the diamond wants to delay access into the wide areas for as long as possible, it is much more common to see an inwards press, shown by the number 11, forcing the ball towards their central midfield overload. The ability and timing of movement from the 4-3-3's number 4 is critical to work the ball away from the diamond's pressure. As seen previously, the diamond will often slide across, relinquishing their central midfield overload. From here, if the number 4 has particularly mobile traits and can break lines through disguise passing and well-timed movements to lose their marker, the 4-3-3 can take advantage as the opposing diamond begins to stretch across the pitch. However, should the diamond consistently demonstrate a well-organised and aggressive marking system, then the spaces on the far side of the pitch must be utilised by the 4-3-3. The key here is to switch and progress accurately, but also quicker than the opposing diamond can shuffle back inside and press across the pitch. Switches of play are absolutely paramount against a 4-4-2 diamond. When the 4-3-3 faces a 4-4-2 diamond, which is utilising a lower block to defend, the cover and balance in the back line is very important. With it being very tempting to push both fullbacks forward as often as possible, the centre-backs can lack cover and support if the 4-3-3 loses possession. Upon a regain, the diamond has two centre forwards ready to push forward and attack. Further counter-attacking runs of support are also easily performed by the diamond, exploiting the high positioning of the 4-3-3's fullbacks. To create better balance underneath the ball, some teams which use a 4-3-3 will convert into a backline trio, placing a second player alongside the number 4. If you are interested in this particular rotation, check out the evolution of the double pivot video, made by the channel found in the Micro Tactics playlist. This example rotation helps create a stronger buffer against counterattacks from the diamond by creating a 4 versus 4 in the central space. The temporary use of a double pivot can also track and cover any forward runs made by the diamond. From here, it is common to see the centre forward pairing within the 4-4-2 diamond narrowing, now defending the middle of the pitch, especially as the diamond lacks the numerical advantage it had prior. Wider access for the 4-3-3 is then found through the wingers, now able to attack in a much more improved final third space. However, one major defensive strength of the 4-4-2 diamond is the central numbers that it constantly holds. So even with decoy runs, penetrative movements and quick combinations, the central areas in the final thirds can be particularly congested, making it extremely difficult for the 4-3-3 to break through in the central areas. When the 4-3-3 is defending and applying a higher press, it is common to see the number 9 lock the ball on one side, with the central midfield and winger furthest from the ball narrowing, shown here by the number 8 and number 7. However, if the players work back around, then these players have to recover back to their original position. The number 9 then moves across, with the winger on the far side, now the number 11, moving inwards. However, this can free up switches of play for the 4-4-2 diamond, where one of the backline is then forced to push out. In order to lock the ball in the final third for longer, a more effective strategy begins with the two wingers starting higher, pushed forward by the higher fullbacks. The two central midfielders in the 4-3-3 then begin on the outside shoulders. As the ball moves, the number 9 screens the opposing single pivot, with the closest winger in the 4-3-3 eventually pressing inwards, as to block the pass between the diamond's centre-back and fullback. The farthest winger then narrows, ready to press into the penalty area with the number 9 when appropriate. The only real outball for the 4-4-2 diamond is then a switch of play out to the far fullback. But because the fullback within the 4-3-3 is started higher, they can engage the ball much earlier. Alternatively, if the diamond attempts to work the ball through the press, the fullbacks in the 4-3-3 then flip their roles, forming a back trio around the two centre forwards. As the ball is worked centrally, the midfield unit then condense around the ball with further help from the number 9. The ball is then locked towards the touchline where the 4-3-3 can jump and regain possession in a corner of the pitch. When the 4-3-3 is defending in a mid-block, the wingers and attacking midfield pair drop back, forming a 4-1-4-1 shape. The number 9 will then cover the diamond single pivot for as long as possible. Should the central midfielders in the diamond attempt to run forward, the number 8 and 10 in the 4-3-3 must instead prioritise covering access into the diamond's two centre forwards. As the ball is moved across the diamond's back line, it is common for one of the attacking midfielders in the 4-3-3 to jump out and press. But this can only work if the rest of the midfield condense together, now forming more of a 4-4-2 block. The number 9 and number 10, now as a front pairing, then screen the diamond's pivot whilst alternatively pressing the two centre-backs. As the diamond's fullbacks push forward, they can be dealt with by the 4-3-3's fullbacks and the narrow winger covering any movements inside. Alternatively, if the diamond's central midfielder makes an earlier run forward, then the winger in the 4-3-3 can jump out, with a fullback dropping back to track the runner. The rest of the midfield unit then condense as the jumping 10 also recovers back into shape. This second method in the wide area is much better for the 4-3-3 to counter-attack via the winger should they regain possession. In the moments where the 4-3-3, now converted into a 4-1-4-1, defends in a lower block, the diamond's fullbacks will be positioned much higher. The 4-3-3 must focus on cutting access through the middle though, with the winger narrowing and the attacking midfielder dropping slightly, shown here by the number 11 and number 10. Should the Diamonds fullbacks deliver early crosses, then the backline and single pivot within the 4-3-3 still possesses a strong enough overload to deal with any central movements. However, cutting off access into the feet of the Diamond centre forwards is essential. This can be done by the fullback pressing outwards, covering this passing lane. Any inside run is then covered by the 4-3-3's wingers. This allows the central midfield trio to remain compact and block any access back into the Diamond. Alternatively, the attacking midfielder in the 4-3-3 can track the narrow runs. Although this can leave easy access into the Diamond's number 10 at times, it does place the winger in the 4-3-3 in a much better position to counter-attack upon regaining the ball. Instead of pressing into the wide areas, the fullback in the 4-3-3 can hold their position with the winger instead pressing out. This keeps the back line intact, with the fullback then stopping any inside channel run. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe, like and share, and don't forget to comment future ideas for the channel. Please also check out the latest book titled Football in a Pandemic, focusing on various tactics and strategies used in the Premier League through the COVID pandemic.